Like before, viewer, discretion is advised.
I have it recorded now.
Alright, so today we're gonna be talking about, like, the experiences with Maximus and finish off all of that since now we're off chat with him. And, we're pretty much just gonna talk about the experiences and, kind of like how that affected you and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, when did Max first start messaging you? I kind of already forgot.
Your mom. Fully down. Go.
What?
Your mom's legs not looking better in the morning.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. My dad was talking to me. What was
That's
the
fine.
question again?
So when did Max first start messaging you?
It's actually so when I first started into the conversation, basically when Dove mentioned their experience with Maximus, then I kind of put my 2 cents in because I just felt like it was really weird that 20-some-year-old was having beef with literal kids.
Yeah. Yeah, now my memory is refreshed. I do remember that. So what happened after that? How did he meet you guys on Discord?
I think I met him through your Corey's group, Discord.
Oh god. Oh my goodness. I apologize then.
Yeah, that's how. And then he just added me back after his account got hacked.
Yeah.
So
So once we got access to his account, we did discover a lot of things which you are aware of, because I think I did give you the login to it as well.
yeah,
And all of these rumors, I just call them rumors because, I didn't have full evidence to
yeah,
provide because it's just so bad. I can't show it on YouTube, of course. But it shows like a lot of evidence, the way he was talking with kids and the
yeah.
way he was speaking to Dove itself is like the biggest evidence. He just casually talks to minors that way. And inviting him to the server, we we see as a big mistake. And you may have saw the other day too. He tried joining on his new account.
No, I didn't
immediately got
see that.
he immediately got banned. I noticed that. It took me a second to realize because his name was like, "Oh, I'm Max the fuck up" or something like that. And then he suddenly changed it to like whatever it is now. It was like something
Shadow
Shadow or
Rider.
something.
Yeah, Shadow Rider.
Yeah. So I was confused at first. Then I looked at the profile and I was like, oh shit, this guy's getting banned immediately. This is Max.
Yeah.
um, some people in the server, well, mainly just everybody, I'm pretty sure, has trauma issues. And when it comes to Max being there, all that trauma stuff kind of awakens. And that's something I was not really too talkative last time, but there was the topic of trauma dumping, which is something he does a lot, which is pretty much just screw
Yeah.
your problems. Here's my problems. I'm going to only talk about my problems. And the best example I could give is the problem with him and Corey, which is when her dog died. And when her dog died, she was coming to Max. I don't know why she came to Max of all people. I don't blame her too. She wanted to come to a friend.
Yeah.
And instead of actually helping her out with all of that, he was like, "Oh, poor me. My mom's angry at me and she might call the cops on me because I stole $400 from her. Oh man. Oh, feel bad for me because I'm
Yeah.
such a horrible piece of shit." It's so frustrating when he does all of that.
So something from my experience with him doing that. So he like would talk about how he's suicidal, and I just told him not too long ago because I still have him on my PlayStation account that I blocked him for a reason. It's not because I hate him. It's not because uh, anything else. It's just I can't deal with him being so suicidal because my mom might go back, like you just heard, my mom might go back to the hospital, and
Yeah.
I'm having problems with a sheriff that won't stop calling me and illegally questioning me. Like I'm just having all this issues, and like Max is always talking about being suicidal. I'm like, if you were suicidal, like you would just do it, like, and like
Yeah.
you just bring up like everyday conversation. It's making me uncomfortable, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna slip back and like pretty much backfire and go back to the hospital because of it.
Yeah, that whole thing with Max is just a whole problem in general in the suicide topic. He's told like a whole bunch of people to kill themselves, and some of these people actually they didn't end up killing themselves, of course, but they ended up starting to self-harm.
Yes.
And when I told Max about all of this, especially with Luna, Luna was the person who was assaulted and why all this happened and all this topic gets brought up. He acts like that was just not a big problem. He's the victim in all of this, of course, right? Even though he really isn't. She
Yeah.
I'll just say they because I think they're going through a transitioning thing, but they um they've been self-harming because of it. And recently I'm actually pretty happy for them now because recently they decided to stop. They decided to finally start studying in school, and they're starting to mature a little bit more, which I'm pretty happy about, but it's also sad because she's still a kid.
Yeah.
They she
Yeah.
I'm calling her she for right now because I'm still confused about it, but um they're still figuring things out, and I'm glad Max isn't interrupting anything. She just blocked him, and as soon as he tried getting back into contact with his new account, just another block. And I think they even hit him in Ponytown before he got blocked or not blocked, banned. So pretty happy for her right now. But before it was just self-harm stories after self-harm stories, and they were all because of Max. And every time that I did get awareness of these stories, I would immediately go tell Max about it. And he's like, "Oh, you're really gonna trauma dump on me? Oh, you're such an asshole. Well, I have bigger problems. Like my mom drinks alcohol because of all of you guys, even though it's me who caused all of these problems. Oh, like he just doesn't care."
Yeah. He only cares about
Even
one person, and it's himself.
even when I was in the hospital for pretty much my birthday of this year, and I came back, he didn't even care about the reason of why. And it's kind of a serious topic in a way. Like, I had a gun. I'll just say that. The place of where I went isn't. It shouldn't be said because that kind of goes a little bit too far. But the plan was to off myself in front of a bunch of people. And I nearly did, which is why I was hospitalized. And the only reason why I got out because of that serious topic, they usually would have just kept the person in for as long as they could, is because it was my 18th birthday and I was allowed to just sign myself out. But he didn't
Oh,
care about that. The only thing that actually came out of that is I legally can't own a gun anymore, that's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. They're trying to still keep me safe, of course. But
Yeah,
either way, it's like I signed myself out and I didn't really fully complete my treatment. I'm still on high watch. And he just does not care. He goes back to me, 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 me. You know?
yeah,
And I think when it comes to everybody else, including Dove, it's like the same story. He just talks about him all the time, not caring about other people, and acts like he's the victim, when reality he's making all of us the victim when we don't really want to be.
yeah. Like,
And if he took the time to know, like, we do have problems, he never asks about it. He's just like, let me talk about my problems. And usually that ends up with people talking about their problems, like it's a therapy session or something like that. Instead, he's like, no, no, let me finish talking. Let me finish with my dot dot dots.
yeah.
Which I still don't understand, the dot dot dots. That's
He,
something
he
I'll
actually
never.
did that to me today, because so I have my nephew over, and he's like 9, and
Yeah,
he plays on my old account, well, not my old account, but my old PlayStation. So he has his own like little account on there, and he had me logged in,
yeah,
and he forgot to log me out, and he accidentally sent an invite to Max. So like it wasn't me, it was my nephew, which I'm not gonna say his name because obviously a minor. I don't want him to be involved in this, but he sent him he sent him. I don't care. He sent him an invite to Minecraft, and I'm like, it wasn't me. It was my nephew, and yeah. And now he's sending me like dot dot dots, voice messages, all this stuff, and I'm like, great.
yeah. That's the real part that gets me frustrated about him is he just can't take life seriously. Even if it was an accident, it's not like people trolling or anything, which he does
Yeah,
get a lot of the time now. When it comes to us, we're just straight up. If we didn't send the invite, we didn't send the invite. That's the end of the story. I don't know why he needs to put the dot dot dots. I don't know what's depressing about not being able to play Minecraft with friends anyway. It's just Minecraft. It's just Minecraft,
well,
and he's never had problems with playing by himself anyway. I don't know why the dot dot dots are necessary.
the weird thing is that you can see what I'm playing. So I'm playing, but basically playing Pandora all the time because I'm obsessed with the game. And then he's like over here messaging me and like saying all this stuff about sending him an invite. I'm like, dude, I'm playing a game. How can you not see that I'm playing a game?
Yeah.
So that's why I was so confused on why he said I sent him an invite. I'm like, no. So, but
Yeah, and I think what really just frustrates me too is I tell him I'm done with the live streaming thing. Like I'm done live streaming with him and done with my series with him because it was a series at one point. And all he does constantly is either like ping me on YouTube saying, "Hey, let's play Rec Room tonight. Let's live stream Rec Room," or he just spams me on Discord with the ads, and he's like,
yeah.
"Hey, let's play Rec Room, let's play Roblox." Like sometimes he can't even make up his mind. It like the same day he's like, "Let's play Rec Room, let's play Roblox, let's play Fortnite, let's play." Like he can't even make up his mind about what we're playing. Even when I see his polls and like one of the votes wins, he plays the opposite of what wins. He plays the losing vote.
Um,
I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
so,
I think he doesn't really listen to what his viewers even care about or what his friends care about. And that's why we're not even considered friends anymore. He just completely disregards what friends are. And then he claims that he's a big My Little Pony fan. And typically, My Little Pony fans don't treat their friends like assholes or send porn to their friends or, like
Yeah.
crazy shit. Like, that's the whole point of the show,
So
is to treat your friends with the 6 elements. Like, that's the whole point. I don't get where the element of sexuality comes from.
yeah. Another thing, what I posted on YouTube, because I tagged him in this, it was a community post. I said, after I do the interview with you, I won't talk about Max anymore. I said, he talks about suicide so much, it made me uncomfortable, and that's why I blocked him. I said, A, I don't hate him. B, I can't deal with him always talking about his ex, that being friends or partners. I can't, they always assume that everyone hates them, obviously. And then he always wants me to contact his exes and stuff on his behalf, but like they blocked you for a reason. And then the other thing I said is also he wants to try to get me to make videos on to help him solve stuff that he did himself. And I'm like, that's what I did in my post. And I'm like, but after this, it's all done. I don't need it.
Yeah, I did see that post. When it comes to Max, I feel like if you make the problem, you shouldn't make it anybody else's problem. It's yours to fix up, it's yours to clean up. It's like if you accidentally dropped a glass of water and the glass breaks and the water's everywhere. You're not going to expect the guests to clean it up. You got to clean it up yourself and you got to pick up the glass. And yeah, it's going to hurt, but is it going to hurt in an hour or two? Maybe you have like a scar, but those scars are lessons to maybe not pick up the glass with your bare hands. And
Yeah.
that's the metaphor with Max. He's just doesn't care about who's around him. He drops the glass and he puts it on me, usually just me, but now it's been like recently you and Dove as well. And he's like, hey, I made a big accident. I made a big oopsie. I need you to make a video so that way I look good. And then he gets more subscribers out of it. I've noticed that recently. Maybe it's not because of us personally. I just think he's been using it for clout and attention. And
Well,
that's why he keeps whining and complaining about it. I think
well,
that's why people coming back. And that's why I haven't even really been paying attention to his streams. I'm just like, well, if nobody's watching, he's just gonna whine and complain the whole entire thing, and that's typically what I want to see during his streams, like, after they're done uploading and they're not live. I just laugh at him because he's like, "Oh, nobody's watching. I'm
dude,
all alone."
dude,
And then
I
he
get
cries.
happy just to have one person watch my stream, let alone like freaking 10. Like,
Yeah,
he should be
and
happy and thankful that he actually has people who watch his streams. Like,
there's even people who I feel bad for because they're I think I've mentioned it in the, Max server the other day. I was like, there's a person who's supporting Max and giving him another chance, and they're like, "Oh, well, everybody deserves a second chance." And I can't blame them that much because most of these people are just stepping in and they're now just realizing this situation. But
yeah,
just by the video we made last time alone, it goes to show that he's had more than enough chances. I kept giving him chance after chance and chance, and there's still topics I haven't really talked about, like maybe I haven't talked about the fact that he was laughing the whole time when I got back from placement and was raped for a whole year. Even when I was telling him while I was there, because he still had contact with me a little bit. That's the good thing I can say about him a little bit is he somehow managed to get in contact with me while I was in placement, but it was just to laugh at me for getting raped every single night. So
yeah.
he's just a awful piece of crap, and he's the whole thing with him is he's never been raped before. He's never been that bad assaulted, and just being raped is worse than death. My dad has explained that like many ways. Once you get raped, your whole entire perspective on life, your whole childhood is gone. You're always going to be a grumpy person because someone assaulted you in a way that was wrong. And if you're dead, you don't have to deal with any of that. It's literally just worse than murder. It's just being raped. And he laughed at it.
Yeah,
And I'm obviously laughing because I'm nervous about it. I don't like the topic of suicide and death and all of that. And
yeah, no one really does.
shit.
It's just a natural response to talk to me about it. Like when my mom talked to me
Yeah.
about my biological father, I, did the like little nervous giggly laugh. I'm like, it's not because I think it's funny. It's because it's just a nervously topic. It's a natural response.
Yeah, and when it came to Max, I know some people might be like, well, maybe Max was doing this natural response as well. He was just purely laughing about it, even throwing jokes about it. Like it was not because he felt bad or anything. He like was laughing because to him it was actually funny. And then he wonders why I joke around about how he was barely thrown around by some guy who's bigger than him. Like my way of joking about that is with my dad. I explain my dad a lot and how he's Irish and I'm Irish and we kind of have this like angry type thing going on with us. And I've been thrown through a window like not that long ago, like earlier this year, and Corey was on that call. And that was when my dad only had a few beers. He wasn't even wasted. And then he goes on acting like his mom is very abusive and shit when she only takes like vodka. It's not that strong like people claim it is. Vodka's not that good in general, really. I prefer whiskey. And he claims like, "Oh, she beats me." And I don't I don't think that's true. If there was actually beating, I think he would have just flat out shown it like, "Oh, look at my arm. It's covered in bruises." Or look at my he doesn't even show evidence to getting
Yeah,
hurt at all. I think what she does cuz I all I see is the calls and stuff like that, and even after the call we had, we continued chatting and his mom ended up coming. She's a very kind person. I doubt she would even hit her son, if at all. Like, probably like little smacks, but that's about it. That's what a mother would do. But when I see her come in, it's usually to yell at him for having his volume so fucking high, and I don't blame her. That shit's annoying. It's so annoying that even the Discord calls can like perfectly pick up his TV audio. That's not even
yeah.
close to his laptop, and it's horrible. I feel bad for her. And that's
That's
why I feel
why.
bad that she got dragged into the situation because it's to deal with her son it too. It's just a horrible situation altogether.
Well, not only
And
that,
they're
I don't think he's actually fully telling her the truth of what's happening.
yeah. Yeah, and that's another sad part is he's most likely taking advantage of his mom for, being the mom. So he's
Yeah,
most likely just lying about everything so that way it seems less bad than it already is. And that's why when I talk to her about it, she gets really frustrated at me, including threatening me with the FBI, which I doubt she was actually serious. Um, and it's just because she's very protective over her son. I'm glad that she's very protective. That's the way a mother should be. But the situation is a very, very serious situation, and
yeah,
hopefully she understands that soon. That Max Levi just needs to fess up to all of it. He needs to stop complaining to everybody, and he needs to just man the fuck up. Like stop being a baby and whining to people like they're your parents, even though you
yeah,
already have a parent who can perfectly help you just fine. Like grow up. You're a man. Take care of your own actions. That's the way men do things. If they make a mess, they clean it up. They don't expect women to. And not to say like gender assuming or anything when it comes to Dove. I'm like sure they were biologically born women, which is why I'm saying it like that. But he
yeah,
comes to you and he comes to Dove just to put his problems on. He doesn't do that to me nowadays, but he was doing that to Corey. He was doing that to Random Shadow. He was doing that to pretty much anybody he can. But when it comes to women, he does that so frequently just so that way he could get a girlfriend out of it. And that's how he got Eris to begin with, is he was just trauma dumping after trauma dumping after trauma dumping until they became a relationship. And I feel bad for Eris because she was manipulated into the relationship,
Yeah.
and she's currently being manipulated back into one, though she's not like taking the manipulation. She's obviously got it covered. But it's just disappointing to see that Max is still aware that he's done bad and he's not doing anything to change it. He's just making it worse for himself, matter of fact, because he's doing the same things. He's still doing it. He knows that he was sexually talking to a 15-year-old and got nudes out of it. And what does he do today? Well, he asks Dove about nudes, and he asks Dove about crushes, like having a crush on her, and it's just weird. Like, I don't know why you need to
Yeah.
talk about that after you literally just got caught, like, being an actual predator. Like, that doesn't help your case. And I keep reminding him that too. These are people you don't want to talk with. Like, I already mentioned it in my last video. It was the test. Like, I test him to see if he actually even listens, and I told him that everybody's pretty much using him. And he didn't take me seriously. And I wasn't wrong. I was just flat out honest, and he still doesn't care that I'm been honest to the point where he still spams you and he still spams Dove. And it's just about, hey, I need help with this, and hey, make a video on this. Dove already made her final response. Their final response. And this is this is pretty much just our final response on it. I
Yeah.
think the clout has just gone on long enough, and hopefully his channel dies out, because this is just too much. And I know I have a feeling, just a feeling, and maybe a gut feeling, but after this probably gets uploaded, I just know he's going to just spam us on YouTube for like a
He
good 2 days or 3 days straight.
spammed
That's
me
just my gut
yesterday.
talking, but
He spammed me yesterday
yeah,
because
he's kind of
my
yeah.
response on YouTube, that thing I just talked about recently in this video, what I talked about, and he just like started like using capital letters and like cursing me out. I'm like, dude, if you read what I said, I didn't say I hated you. Like I didn't say we weren't friends. I just said what I said. What makes me uncomfortable is what you were doing. So
Yeah. And that's not even like mention the Fortnite stream. I didn't watch it, so I don't really know fully what was said, but I can guess what was said. And from what you were telling me, it was like some really bad stuff.
like,
And the fact that like, you know, you don't hate him and stuff like that, honestly, he should be hated, and I don't hate him either, but it just goes to show there's so much stuff he's getting away with, and that's why I really want him off the platform. He just says a lot of hurtful things, even outside of YouTube. He just goes out of his way to be an extremely hurtful person, and it's
yeah,
typically when the person doesn't want to help him because they have their own problems. Like, going back to that whole thing with the $400 he stole, he was like really fucking depressed over it. I don't think depressed is the actual word for it. I think he was just pretending to be depressed, but he's like, "Oh, I'm depressed. I think I'm gonna kill myself because my mom hates me now, which she should. And oh, I think I'm just gonna end it." Which,
yeah,
in general, a person who wants to end it, and I've said this last time too, they don't talk about it ever. When they're too depressed and too suicidal, that those thoughts don't really come up in their mind. Their first thoughts are to just do it, not
yeah,
to explain it, not to look for help, because suicidal people don't want help. They just do it.
yeah,
And I try to see it as if Max did want help, and I think a lot of us were trying to help him too, despite all of this stuff. And he goes out of his way to, like, pretend like it's out of the way, I'm not suicidal anymore, as soon as we all go and help him. So as soon as he gets all of his friends back, quote unquote, we're not really his friends.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to being depressed like a week or two later when we just stop helping him again because we don't really want to be his friend. We're helpful. We like to be helpful. We don't want people to kill themselves, of course. But if it's not a real statement, then I don't think it needs to be stated. I think you need to be hospitalized if you want to keep bringing it up, especially on the internet, on YouTube of all places.
Yeah.
I'm surprised YouTube hasn't taken down his stuff or anything. But I feel like if anything, like I don't deserve to be hospitalized because I'm aware of all of that stuff. I don't feel like anybody who is aware of all that stuff needs to be hospitalized, just as long as they're aware of what they're doing. But Max is just crazy. Like, I think he even just says it himself all the time. He is crazy.
So mind my language. I think he's just doing it for shits and giggles. like
Yeah.
I've been hospitalized like a few times actually before I came living with my parents, and I have medication that I take. I have a therapist I see regularly. So like it's I know I have it. I talk about it, but like being constantly told about how depressed someone else is, I'm like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the thing Max needs to realize too. We all have problems. The world doesn't revolve around him. Everybody has their own personal life. Personal, like, being an exclusive word here because this is all on the internet. This is just internet stuff, and he treats it like it's a 24-hour thing. That's a good example is how I didn't respond to our call immediately. It took me like 4 hours to actually be like, okay, I'm
yeah,
ready. Because I have a life,
yeah,
you know?
which I
With Max, it's
don't
like, oh, we're ready to call. Let's call right now. Unless it's last call where he just decides out of nowhere to take a 2-hour bath, which I will never understand why a person needs to be in a bath for 2 hours. I think their skin would be all wrinkly after that.
Yeah,
Yikes. But after all of that too, even after that video, I'm just surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but he's still doing it,
yeah,
obviously. There was even the stuff where Eris went to unblock him and tried talking with him a little bit. He did end up flirting, from what I know, but it was a meme that ended up causing her to block him,
oh,
which is kind of dumb a little bit. I don't want to call my girlfriend dumb, but
no, no,
he still
no,
flirted. He still
yeah,
flirted. The meme, the meme part, I don't really get. From what I know, it wasn't that bad of a meme, but he doesn't send good memes in general, so I
yeah,
guess I could get that. Maybe it wasn't that bad, but it was still bad in terms of what Max thinks isn't bad. So I don't fully blame her, but he's still trying to chat with her, still trying to get with her, and that's another thing he can't face is that maybe me and her aren't legally married, but we pretty much made vows on Ponytown and we made vows on voice calls, and she lives pretty close to my state, so it's not like a far drive or anything to actually get a few papers signed. But me
yeah,
and Eris are not just boyfriend and girlfriends, like, ooh. No, we're married. And he doesn't understand that either. I pointed that out last time too. He likes to just throw that in my face and complain about Eris this, Eris that, even though I'm the person currently with her. So it's like every time he talks with me, it's pretty much, hey, here's my plan to get you to break up with her, even though you still like her, which is very insulting.
yeah,
Just in general, very, very insulting. Hey, you're happy. Let me break up your marriage thing so that way I could be happy. Which is pretty dumb too. One of the things he always explains is how Eris is his first and only girlfriend, which that should be motivation to move on. That's your first girlfriend. There's a bunch of other people that people just see in general. Like Corey wasn't my first girlfriend. I've already been through like 30 or 40 girls at that point.
Yeah.
Like people come and people go. It's not that big of a deal, and we're only at the beginning of our life. We're not 50, we're not 60. It's not like the end of the fucking world. And he's like, oh no, I'm gonna die with this broken heart. Maximus, the broken-hearted dead guy. Like, bro,
Well,
that in general is also emo. I feel like people who are emo are typically teenagers. That's another
yeah.
reason why I call him a baby, is because if he's not being a baby, he's just being a teenager who acts like a baby. Like, being emo was something I did when I was 15 or 16. He's 22. It's okay to like emo music, but that's not even what's making him emo. He still listens to like general regular music. He listens to like reggae music and shit like that, which is pretty chill music. I don't get where this emo shit comes from
The other
with the
thing,
dots.
the other thing that gets me is that uh when he said that he liked me, like um and like you said before, I like someone else, but like him like liking me out of nowhere, it just, and like I barely know him. I only know of the bad things about him.
It's very creepy. It's just very creepy in general. I feel like with all of those allegations and someone helping you with those, if you could even call us helping him, because really we're just like saying, hey, own up to your thing and move the fuck on, bro. Like, that's all you can really do now. But
Yeah,
all he does is like, oh well, I'm the bad guy and I'm a victim because I'm the bad guy, so you gotta love me now.
yeah,
Which he doesn't even do anything to make himself look good. That's the least he can be doing, is just be making himself look good, and he can't even do that. With his YouTube videos, I guess he was sort of doing that. He was sort of making like new videos that were outside of his drama bullshit. But then he kept making it public. We weren't even
yeah.
making it public. We were just collecting evidence against him
Like
and
how
making
I
our thoughts
figured out his
about it.
first name. He's like, "You're making that public." I'm like, "I didn't make it public. You did."
That's the fun part too, is his name has already been public for a while. Like, before any of that, I was doing streams with him, and that was before like the server was even brought up and anything like that. It was just old days with me and Max, and every single stream I would always call him Levi. His name was already out in the open, and his last name wasn't even that hard to find either. It's on his email, but I've already known it for so long because he just treats me like a good friend, even though he hasn't really been a good friend. The only, which is surprising why he gave me his last name. He's like, oh yeah, my last name's Casey. But that's all him. That's
Yeah,
nobody really like put that on him or anything. He decided to also film at school, which is
yeah.
not a good to be filming or going live of all places. Like, going live at school, I'm pretty sure that's against school policies too. I don't know people who just go live at school
I mean, the
to
one of
do
the I don't know
streams
if it was his
about
teacher or if it was his someone in the school talking to him saying that he shouldn't be doing that. Like it was
yeah,
pretty obvious.
even before that, I guess he already forgets too, is like his mom always calls him Levi when she walks in. And that's the second he mutes, is when he hears his name, Levi. Then he mutes his keyboard and shit and then goes talks to his mom sometimes. Other times he just leaves it out just for his mom to chat to the stream or something.
Yeah.
But she just flat out calls him Levi. His name has already been out there. He has no reason to complain about his name already being out there. Just as much as he has no reason to complain about the address thing. He gave his address away to people, and
He even doxed
I've
himself on his
already
own
explained to
server.
him. Yeah, I've already explained to him too. Like, people are going to try to get your address. Don't give anybody your address. And once again, that was another test. He didn't listen. He gave out his address, and now people have it.
Yeah.
So that's all him. Like, that's not my fault. That's not my fault that he acts so kid-like and just gives out any information he wants. I think the next information is probably his social security number, if anything. He probably would be dumb enough to do that too. I wouldn't be that surprised.
I'm just completely baffled by how he acts. Like, it's not only like that, the allegations, but like him always bringing up how he's disabled.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that really pisses me off too. I don't talk about it too much, but well, already obviously in the server, we all have disabilities as well, including me. And all these disabilities keeps talking about, like his ADHD, for example, that has nothing to do with touching minors or anything. Like,
Yeah.
that's to help you stay focused. What does that have to do with touching minors or anything?
Yeah.
You have ADHD for a reason, and it has nothing to do with minors. Like, I don't even know what could be prescribed for liking minors, but liking minors in general comes not from ADHD, not from drugs that they give you, because the drugs, they're there to numb you out. They're there to make you tired, if anything. They don't make you want to talk to people. I've learned personally they make me antisocial. They make me not want to talk to people because I don't know how to act.
Like,
That's how focused I am with them. And he's like, "Oh, it's my ADHD. That's the big problem."
dude, I just figured out I had ADHD. It didn't cost me to do anything. Like, I have
Yeah.
depression, I have anxiety, I have all these other medical things wrong with me, but like, I don't use it as an excuse like he does.
Yeah. I have depression, anxiety, ADD, ADHD, and PTSD. Max acts like he has all the biggest problems in the world, but even with all of mine stacked on top of each other, and the PTSD, I want to like really emphasize, I've had more than just a fair share of like a few events that happened. I watched my mom leave, but before my mom even left, I learned what sex was before I was even like 3, because my mom was always putting me in showers with my sister, trying to get me to learn what the body parts of a woman are,
Oh
which is
god.
kind of creepy. But even after that too, my mom was smoking weed inside the house, hotboxing when I was a kid, so I was a weed baby. And she was smoking weed too when she was still pregnant with me too. So,
Oh dear.
and even after my mom left, I had to deal with certain stepmothers coming in and out, which already itself is bad. But one stepmother came in who was just my dad's cousin. So I had to deal with that. A
Oh
little bit of incest going on in my family, which was kind of creepy. But my dad later on just said fuck it, and they got a divorce. And then there was the whole placement shit and even cousin stuff. I don't want to bring up my cousin, but he did some horrible things to me. Max's biggest problem is how he got pushed around a few times by his stepdad, who did end up leaving. He should just be grateful that that stepdad isn't there. And he should be grateful about the fact that he isn't getting robbed from that placement home he is now. Like, he acts like it's a big problem to get robbed. Some people get bigger things, like how I got robbed of my childhood. Every
yeah.
last bit of. I was addicted to cigarettes when I was 8 too. Something that was in the previous video too was how I was coughing and shit like that. I learned that I have asthma, so now I have that problem. It's not prescribed to me yet because I'm still seeing doctors about it, but that's the big suspicion, is because of my big smoking problem from not only weed from my mom when I was a kid, but also cigarettes at the age of 8. I have that problem. But I also have an alcohol problem, and that's why I kind of see his mom as something different. She's not really an alcoholic because I'm an alcoholic. My entire family is alcoholics. We drink whiskey all the time, but we don't just drink a few shots. We drink a whole bottle, typically to ourselves. So, and I've been a drinker since I was like 10 or 11. I've had a really rough childhood,
Yeah.
and my dad didn't know how to parent because he didn't have a dad around, and my mom was not really in the picture, of course, like I was stating. She comes every now and then to try to see me, but she's still not the perfectest mom. She has an OF, if you know what an OF is,
Yeah, yeah,
and she's also PH, so yeah, she's not the best mom in general. She's still a mom, I'll say. I'm glad to have a mom still around, but disappointing of her choices. Her choices
yeah.
really disappoint me. And that's what Max should also see too, is that those things like doing bad things too, that that doesn't make you look bad. That makes your whole family look bad just because of your last name. You share a last name with all of them. That
Yeah.
means you represent them. And if you represent them as a pedophile, then that makes your whole entire family look bad.
It's like the same thing with my sperm donor. My sperm donor, I share the same name as my sperm donor, and he is a
Yeah.
pedophile. Like, I know how irritating and frustrating it is to share a name with a pedophile. And then people are saying, "Oh, just make it your last name." I'm like, "No, it's ruined."
Yeah. When it came to my dad with the whole incest thing, I can't be fully mad about changing my last name or anything because incest seems to be a huge problem in American history, I guess. Most families have very wonky family trees.
Yeah,
So I don't fully blame my dad. I'm just glad the cousin was like 2 seconds split apart or whatever the fuck it is. Like they're not fully blood related, but they're related due to the family tree, which is still pretty
yeah,
weird. But in relation to Max, I just had a pretty fucked up childhood from knowing all of the what I know and from everything that happened to me as a kid. And I was a suicidal kid by the age of 6 years old, running into streets and shit like that, jumping in front of cars and doing crazy shit, including running to this bridge I always go to that was in a video of mine, one of my first videos called The Haunted Bridge, and I couldn't call it you know, the S word because the suicide bridge just does not fit in a YouTube name title.
yeah,
But it's a bridge where everybody goes to kill themselves, and that's why it's also the haunted bridge because everybody who's haunting there are just suicide victims. And it's kind of sad in a way, too.
yeah,
But I knew a person who ended up killing themselves at that bridge. One of my friends did. And that's another reason why I go to that bridge a lot. And that's why I get so frustrated at Max, is even if you take away all the problems of my current life and like my past and shit of that, there's still the reality of my friends, my IRL friends, and why I don't really have any anymore, is because they all ended up killing themselves. Some of them got lucky enough to just graduate and move on with their lives and go to different states and shit like that, but they
yeah,
lost contact. Most of them ended up killing themselves because we all did dumb shit as kids, shit that we couldn't really repair, you know?
yeah,
And once you see a person do that, everybody else's problems just aren't as big.
yeah,
It's it's a very horrible thing to see, especially when it's like a very, very close friend.
Yeah.
you know, and that's why I get so frustrated at Max. He never saw a close friend die, let alone a dead body in general. I was already talking about how I saw a decapitated body at one point too. Um, that kind of stuff is just more traumatizing than anything ever
Yeah.
because you actually see death working its job, and it is more horrible than the movies can ever make it to be.
Yeah. I mean, the closest to a dead body are funerals for me, so I can't really say much
Yeah.
about it, but
Yeah. Before any of that, though, I've had family members do that. I had, 2 cousins. One was 11 and well, no. One was 13 and the other one was 10, if I'm right. They were pretty young, that's the point. And they got into a car accident with, my aunt and my other cousin, who is their sister. And those 2 cousins ended up dying in that car accident with, their face parts everywhere, like their brains scattered and their
yeah.
eyeballs on my, aunt's lap. They had to see their kids' dead body parts right there. And then there was my uncle. He couldn't handle it, and he ended up blowing his head off with a shotgun. However, he didn't finish the job, which is the most traumatizing part about that too. He attempted suicide, and he nearly did it, but somehow he managed to live through a shotgun blast through the head. So once again, the wife, my aunt, had to suffer because she had to see the hospital put him down.
Yeah.
Max, as far as I know, has not had any problems like that. I also went to my cousin's funeral, and I did see my uncle that was the last time I saw him, was at his kids' funerals. And I I felt so bad for him. He was crying. A man usually doesn't cry once they're like 20 or 30. He's in his
Yeah.
40s, but usually they let out like a few tears and stuff like that and they hide their tears. He was just crying really badly.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Can't
And
really blame the dude.
yeah. Max Max will never have an experience like that, and I hope he never has an experience like that. Even despite all the things that he has done, I will always not wish the worst on a person completely.
Yeah.
But I just want him to learn that people have more bigger problems, and they've always will have that big weight on their shoulder. Max's only weight is his mom drinks a little bit. He's not that good of a son. He can't really admit it. And he did some horrible things on the internet.
Yeah.
And if he really was sorry about it, he wouldn't be going back to doing it like what he was doing with Dove and
Yeah.
what he's trying to do with Eris. It's the same story repeating itself. And he needs to break the cycle. And the only way he can break the cycle is by actually trying. It's not something I could do for him. It's not something Dove can do for him. And it's not something you can do for him. The only way a person can break the cycle is through themselves. He needs to learn that what he's doing is very wrong. He needs to delete all of that fucking porn off his phone. And he needs to mature. He
Yeah.
needs to put on his big boy pants because this is real life. He needs to get a job. He needs to get money. Once he gets a job and once he gets a money, he could start getting girlfriends, start going out and dating, move on from your past. Not on a permanent record. It's not really going to affect him like he keeps thinking. I'm not
Yeah.
calling the police I mean, there's threats of people calling the police, but they're not going to actually do that. Nobody wants the worst for him. We just want to scare him into actually getting better. And he still won't even get that. Even if we throw scares into his face, he still won't even take it. And
Yeah.
that's the upsetting part when it comes to Max. That's why I accept he is not just he's not trying to be a person. He's just a pure monster. And that thing where he keeps saying he's insane, and I believe that. I believe he's insane. The definition of insane/insanity, which is where the word comes from, is doing the same things over and over and over and over. And that's what Max is doing. He's getting himself into the same situation over and over and over, and it's not helping his case. Which is why the only way I can break my cycle, because it's the cycle of me and us in general just continuing to talk about it, is putting it at a conclusion,
Yeah.
which is this video.
Which is almost at
So,
an hour.
yeah. So, to reach the in conclusion part of this, Max is a dipshit. I hope no one becomes friends with him unless they actually think they can handle him. I couldn't handle him, and I've been his friend for 6 years, 7 years now, actually, and I still can't handle him. He's ripped me apart, not actually caring about my problems, and he added on to my problems when he decided to also send me porn when I was 13. So, and I don't wish the worst on him, but I do wish that nobody becomes friends with this piece of shit. And I'm sure everybody else will say the same thing, is that this guy's a big, huge piece of shit and he deserves to not have anything good happen to him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hopefully, he also sees this and sees, like, a flash in his mind that tells him, hey, you gotta stop this. Like, my dad calls it the voice of Jesus Christ. I don't want to throw religion into this, but it's a kind of a metaphoric thing
Yeah.
where your conscience is Jesus, and if you don't hear that conscience, you're just the devil. That's why the conscience takes on the form of your voice. You're either the purity of Jesus Christ, or you just become the devil. And that's what Max is. He hasn't listened to his conscience at all, otherwise he would have been doing good. So hopefully he listens to this and listens to the voice in his head that says, this is wrong. We need to do something about this. I can't handle people with this forever. I need to do this myself. As long as that happens in his head, then good things will happen. Nobody
Yeah.
will be shit talking him. Everything can move on, and he can move on with different friends. Because I don't want to be friends after after all of that. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone should be friends with him. I stand by that statement. But anyone who does, I can respect, because that is that has got to take a lot of guts and determination to be his friend.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm super impressed with you and Dove, because yikes. That is some very, very hard work to pull off, is being Max's friend.
But yeah. I, after this, it's not going to be talked about anymore. It's why I'm going to leave the
Yes.
server. So.
Yeah. I will also be done talking about the situation. I'll stay in the server so that way I can stay informed about it in case anyone has any questions about it. If anyone does, they can come to my channel, and I'm also going to have a Q&A video here soon, and you guys can ask me questions, and I can answer about the Mac stuff, but for me, I'm done video-wise about the
Yeah.
topic. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the information.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys in the next of our videos. Have a good one.
Totally.